She stood in the line shack doorway at dawn with both arms crossed over her chest like a corpse, dirt caked under her fingernails, staring at nothing. And when the rancher's shadow fell across the threshold, she whispered 6 words that made him freeze. "Don't touch me, I'm ruined." Caleb Bridger found her on Tuesday morning when he drove out to check the fence line near the old stone shack 2 miles from his main house. He'd seen the door standing open from half a mile off, wrong, because he'd latched it himself 3 weeks back. She was standing in the frame when he pulled up, thin, pale, arms locked across her chest like she was holding herself together by force. Her eyes stayed on the dirt between them, and he could see it under her fingernails. Red Arizona clay, like she'd been digging. He stopped 10 feet back, didn't move closer. "Ma'am?" She flinched, didn't look up. "Don't touch me." Her voice came out flat, dead. "I'm ruined." The words hung in the dry air between them. He stood there, hat in his hands, morning sun climbing behind her so she was mostly shadow. "Who says?" She didn't answer, just stood there breathing shallow, arms locked tight. He set a water bottle on the ground, stepped back, got in his truck and drove away, dust trailing behind him like a question he didn't know how to ask. Rosa said she'd seen dust devils 3 mornings in a row circling the old line shack, which meant either weather coming or something dying out there. So Caleb drove the 2 miles out, expecting rattlesnakes, and found a woman instead. He shouldn't have gone back. That's what he told himself Wednesday morning, sitting in his kitchen with coffee gone cold. The woman wanted to be left alone. He'd left her water. His part was done. But Rosa stood at the stove making chorizo and eggs, humming something low in Spanish, and she'd said it without turning around. "Senor Caleb, you check on her today?" "She's fine." "You know this how?" He didn't answer. Rosa turned, wooden spoon in hand like a weapon. 3 days of dust devils. Something's dying out there. "It's just weather." "Aye. Then you won't mind driving out to check." So he went. Loaded a canvas bag with food, apples, jerky, granola bars, 2 bottles of Gatorade, threw in a wool blanket because the nights were getting cold. Felt stupid doing it. Felt worse not doing it. The line shack door was still open when he pulled up. That same rectangle of darkness. No movement inside. "Ma'am?" He called it from 20 feet back. "I brought some food. Gonna leave it by the door." Nothing. He walked closer, set the bag down on the threshold. That's when he saw her. She was on the floor inside, curled on her side, knees to chest, not moving. Her lips were cracked white, face flushed fever red even in the shadows. Jesus. He was through the door before he thought about it. She jerked awake, scrambling backward into the corner, wild-eyed. "No, don't." "Easy, easy now." He stopped, hands up. "You're burning up. You need a hospital." "No." She tried to stand. Couldn't. Legs wouldn't hold her. "No hospital. No police. No." She pitched forward. He caught her before she hit the floor. She screamed, flinched so hard in his arms he almost dropped her. "Don't touch me. I said don't." But her eyes rolled back, and she went slack. And he was holding 110 pounds of fever and terror, and he didn't have a choice anymore. He drove fast. One hand on the wheel, one hand on her shoulder to keep her from sliding off the bench seat. She was in and out, muttering things he couldn't make sense of. Names, maybe. "No, please, I won't. I promise." Rosa was in the garden when he pulled up. She took one look, dropped her basket, ran. "Ay, Dios mío, bring her inside. The spare room." Should I call?" "No." Rosa's voice went hard. "No police, no ambulance, bring her." He carried her through the house, Rosa leading the way, throwing open doors. The spare room faced east, small and plain. White walls, single bed, one window with yellow curtains. "Put her down, gentle." He laid her on the bed, stepped back. Rosa was already at work, checking pulse, touching the woman's forehead, pulling back an eyelid. "Dios?" "Go get the first aid kit, kitchen cabinet, and towels, cold water." "Rosa, go." He went. When he came back, Rosa had removed the woman's filthy shirt. The skin underneath stopped him in the doorway. Bruises, old ones, fading yellow-green across her ribs. Newer ones, purple-black on her upper arms, finger-shaped, and scars, thin white lines on her shoulders, her collarbone. Rosa saw his face, shook her head once. "Don't ask." She worked quietly, wiped the woman's face and arms with cool cloths, got water between her cracked lips a few drops at a time, covered her with a clean sheet. "She'll sleep now," Rosa said. "Fever needs to break." Caleb stood in the hallway, staring at nothing. "Who do you think did that to her?" His voice came out rough. "Someone who's still looking, probably." Rosa met his eyes. "That's why no police. You understand?" "I understand." "Bueno, I'll stay with her. You go check the road, make sure nobody followed you." He did, drove the county line twice. Nothing but heat, shimmer, and empty blacktop. She woke just after sunset. He heard it from the kitchen, A crash. Rosa's voice sharp and fast in Spanish, then English. No, mija. Stop. By the time he reached the doorway, the woman was on her feet, wearing one of Rosa's old nightgowns, backing toward the window. Where are my clothes? I have to go. He'll find me. Who? Caleb asked from the doorway. She spun, pressed herself against the wall, her eyes locked on him, pure animal fear. Nobody. I can't stay here. You can barely stand. I don't care. Rosa stepped between them, hands out like she was calming a spooked horse. Mija, sit, please. Just sit. I don't even know you people. No, Rosa said softly, but we know you're hurt. And whoever did this, she gestured at the woman's arms. They're not here. You're safe. I'm not safe anywhere. Then be not safe here, Caleb said, where there's food and a door that locks. The woman's jaw worked. Her hands were shaking. Rosa brought soup, chicken, homemade, still, hot, set it on the nightstand. Eat first, then decide. She didn't move for a long time, just stood there against the wall, breathing hard, looking between them like she was calculating odds. Finally, slowly, she sat on the edge of the bed. Rosa handed her the bowl. The woman took it with both hands, and Caleb saw it then, the way she held it, left hand dominant, right hand supporting. And the bruises on that right forearm, dense and overlapping. Defensive wounds, she'd been blocking hits for a long time. The woman ate 3 spoons of soup, then stopped. If I stay tonight, I leave in the morning. All right, Caleb said. I mean it. I believe you. She looked at him for a long moment, then down at the soup. What's your name? Caleb Bridger, that's Rosa Martinez. She stopped, started again. My name's Sarah. Okay, Sarah. He backed toward the door. Lock's on the inside of that door. Use it if you want. Nobody's coming in unless you say. He left her there. Rosa sitting in the chair by the window, humming something soft and low. In the kitchen, he poured himself whiskey he didn't want and stared out at the dark. 3 days. She'd lasted 3 days alone in that shack with no food and bad water. How long had she been running before that? And from who? The spare room had a lock on the inside. She checked it 11 times the first night. And when Rosa brought breakfast at dawn, Sarah was standing in the corner farthest from the door, still wearing yesterday's borrowed nightgown, arms wrapped around herself like rope. Rosa knocked soft, 3 taps, always the same. Mija, breakfast. No answer from inside. She left the tray on the floor, scrambled eggs, toast, coffee in a thermos, and walked back to the kitchen. Caleb was at the table with the newspaper he wasn't reading. She didn't open the door? No. She say anything? No. He went back to not reading. Rosa poured herself coffee and looked out the window at nothing in particular. An hour later, the tray was gone. Empty dishes stacked neatly by the door. She eats, Rosa said. That's something. Sarah stayed in the room all day. Caleb heard her moving around in there. Soft footsteps, water running in the attached bathroom, the creak of bed springs. But she didn't come out. He worked, fixed the irrigation line in the south pasture, checked on the cattle, came back at lunch, and Rosa had another tray waiting, and he knew, without asking, that Sarah still hadn't opened the door. By evening, he was frustrated in a way he couldn't name. Not angry, just aware of the closed door, the locked space. The woman inside who wouldn't speak or show herself or accept help beyond food left on the floor like she was a stray cat. He paced the porch after dinner. Rosa was washing dishes, radio playing low, some Mexican station out of Tucson. The sun was going down, red and orange over the desert, and he could see the spare room window from where he stood. Curtains drawn, no light inside. She's scared, Rosa said from the doorway. I know that. So let her be scared, in her own time. And if she decides to run in the middle of the night, then she runs. Rosa wiped her hands on her apron. You can't save somebody who doesn't want saving. I'm not trying to save her. Rosa gave him a look that said she didn't believe him. Then what are you trying to do? He didn't have an answer for that. Later, after Rosa had gone to her own small house behind the main building, Caleb stood in the hallway outside the spare room. The door was still closed, no light underneath. He'd brought one of his old work shirts, blue chambray, soft from 100 washings. Rosa had mentioned Sarah was cold, said the nightgown wasn't enough. He knocked once, light, no answer. I'm leaving something outside the door, he said to the wood. Rosa says you might need it. Silence. He set the shirt down, folded, left a note on top in his rough handwriting. Gets cold at night. Keep it. Walked away before he could second-guess it. The shirt was gone in the morning. He tried not to feel something about that and failed. Rosa was making tortillas when Caleb came in for coffee just after 5 a.m. The kitchen smelled like masa and butter and cilantro. Smells that meant home, meant Rosa had been here since before he woke up. He poured coffee, leaned against the counter. The house was quiet, except for Rosa's hands working the dough, the soft pat-pat-pat of shaping. She came out last night, Rosa said without looking up. Caleb straightened. When? Maybe 2 in the morning. I heard the door, came to check, found her in the kitchen. And? And we talked, a little. Rosa's hands kept working. She doesn't sleep much. Bad dreams. She say, what about? No, and I didn't ask. Rosa looked at him then. But she ate some pan dulce. Drank milk. Let me show her where the coffee is. That's progress. See. Rosa went back to the tortillas. She asked about you. Asked what? If you're married? If you have kids? If you're... Rosa chose her words carefully. Is the kind of man who expects things. Caleb felt something cold in his chest. What did you tell her? I told her you're a good man, that you won't hurt her, that you expect nothing. Rosa met his eyes. I told her the truth. And did she believe you? Not yet. He was fixing the fence by the south gate when she appeared, just there, 30 feet away, standing at the edge of the yard, in Rosa's borrowed clothes. Jeans too big, white t-shirt, bare feet. She didn't come closer, just stood there watching him work. He hammered in another fence staple. Didn't acknowledge her, kept his body turned, sideways, non-threatening. 5 minutes passed. She stayed. He moved to the next post. Morning. She didn't answer. He glanced over. She was wearing his blue shirt over the t-shirt, sleeves too long, arms crossed over her middle. Her hair was wet. She'd showered. Coffee's in the kitchen if you want some, he said to the fence post. I know. Another minute of silence. Then, Rosa's teaching me to fold tortillas. He looked up at that. She was staring at the ground, not at him. Yeah? I'm not very good at it yet. Rosa's been doing it for 60 years. You'll get there. A small sound. Maybe almost a laugh. Maybe not. Then she turned and walked back to the house, and he watched her go with something tight in his throat he couldn't name. The next morning, Sarah woke before dawn. She'd managed maybe 3 hours of sleep, which was better than usual. The nightmares had been quieter. Less screaming, just running through red dirt that grabbed at her ankles. She listened at the door for a long time before unlocking it. The house was silent. Good. She could get coffee, maybe sit in the dark kitchen for a while, then go back to the room before anyone woke up. But when she padded down the hallway barefoot, there was already light spilling from the kitchen doorway, and that smell. Fresh bread, cinnamon, something warm and impossibly comforting. Rosa stood at the counter, hands dusted white with flour, rolling dough. The radio played soft, some old Mexican love song Sarah didn't know. Rosa looked up, smiled like she'd been expecting her. Buenos dias, mija. Coffee? Sarah froze in the doorway. I didn't mean to. I thought everyone was asleep. I'm always up early. Old habit. Rosa gestured to the pot. Cups in the cabinet. Help yourself. Sarah moved slowly into the room, poured coffee with hands that only shook a little. The first sip was strong, bitter, perfect. You sleep? Rosa asked, not looking up from her work. Some. Better than none. They existed in silence for a few minutes. Sarah standing by the counter, Rosa working the dough with practiced hands. The kitchen window showed the first gray light of dawn creeping over the desert. You know how to fold tortillas? Rosa asked. Sarah shook her head. Come, I'll show you. Rosa waved her over. It's easy, but your hands have to know the way. Sarah set down her coffee. Moved to the counter. Rosa demonstrated quick, efficient movements, the dough folding into itself, then another fold, then pressing flat with the heel of her palm. You try. Sarah's first attempt was clumsy. The dough stuck to her fingers, wouldn't hold its shape. Más suave, more gentle, like this. Rosa guided her hands, showing the pressure, the rhythm. The second one was better, the third almost right. See? Your hands remember working. Rosa smiled. Even if you forgot. Sarah realized she was concentrating so hard, her shoulders had unknotted for the first time in weeks. Her hands moving in the dough, doing something productive, something that wasn't running or hiding or surviving, something almost like normal. Rosa started humming, low and melodic, matching the song on the radio. Sarah closed her eyes just for a second, letting the sound wash over her. My mama used to hum like that, she said before she could stop herself. When she cooked. Then I remind you of good things, Rosa said softly. Bueno. Sarah's throat went tight. She focused on the dough. The screen door opened, boots on the porch, heavy footsteps. Sarah's whole body tensed. Caleb stopped in the kitchen doorway, still in his work clothes, hat in hand. His eyes went to Sarah, then away, like he was trying not to spook her. "Morning?" His voice came out, careful. Sarah swallowed, forced herself to say it. "Morning." He moved to the coffee pot, poured a cup. "Smells good, Rosa." "Gracias." He took his coffee and headed back toward the door, giving space, not crowding. Sarah watched him go, the deliberate way he moved, the distance he maintained. After the door closed behind him, Rosa glanced at her. "He's a good man, won't hurt you." Sarah's hands stilled in the dough. "That's what they all say." "See," Rosa's voice went harder. "But I've been watching him for 20 years. I know the difference." By the end of the first week, something like a routine had formed. Sarah helped Rosa in the mornings, small tasks at first. Folding laundry, washing vegetables from the garden, setting the table for meals she still wouldn't sit down to eat. She wore the blue chambray shirt over everything like armor, sleeves rolled to her elbows. She checked the locks less, only twice at night now instead of every hour. Rosa hung the copper wind chimes back in the kitchen window, small bells that sang when the desert wind pushed through. Sarah had flinched the first time they rang, then stopped. Let the sound exist. Progress. Small, real. Then Wednesday morning, Caleb came in with the mail and muttered to Rosa, "Town council meeting next week." Sarah's hands stopped mid-motion over the sink. "What town?" Caleb looked up, sensing the shift. "Mesa Hollow, county seat, 15 miles east." The color drained from her face. "You have to go there?" "Usually do. I own land. They want my vote on—" She was already walking out of the kitchen, moving fast. Rosa caught Caleb's arm. "Let me—" She found Sarah in the spare room, shoving clothes into the plastic bag she'd arrived with. Moving frantic, hands shaking. "Mija, where are you going?" "I can't be here when he goes to town." Sarah didn't look up, kept packing. "Someone will see his truck, ask questions, follow him back." "Who will follow?" Sarah's jaw set. "I can't tell you that." "I can't or won't." "Does it matter?" Sarah's voice cracked. "If he finds me here, if he finds out Caleb helped me, then we make sure he doesn't find out." Rosa stepped into the room, closed the door behind her. "You stay hidden while Caleb's gone. Out of sight. No one will know. You don't understand." Sarah sat on the bed, the fight draining out of her. "If he finds me, he'll kill me, and anyone who helped." Rosa sat beside her, not touching, just present. "This man," Rosa said carefully, "he has power, authority." Sarah's silence was answer enough. "Then running won't save you. He'll find you on the road, alone, no witnesses." Rosa's voice went gentle but firm. "Here, you have walls, locks, people who see you as human. Out there." She gestured towards the window, the empty desert beyond. "You're just prey." Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of me." "Too late." "We already chose." Rosa stood, smoothed her apron. "Now you choose. Run and maybe die alone. Or stay and maybe live." The wind chimes sang soft in the kitchen, carrying down the hallway. Sarah looked at the bag in her hands, the few things she owned. "If I stay hidden," she said finally, "you swear he won't see me." "I swear. And if someone comes looking, I've been invisible for 40 years, Mija." Rosa's eyes held something ancient and hard. "I know how to hide people." Sarah set the bag down. Outside, the desert wind picked up, and somewhere in the distance a dust devil spun itself into nothing. Caleb didn't go to town that week, told the council he had a fence situation, and when Sarah asked Rosa why, Rosa just shrugged and said, "Maybe he's got better things to do than listen to old men argue about speed limits." Thursday morning, Sarah woke to the sound of hammering. She pulled the curtain aside, careful to stay hidden, and saw Caleb working the fence line that ran along the east pasture. His truck was parked by the barn, not on the road, not heading toward Mesa Hollow. She found Rosa in the kitchen. He didn't go to the meeting. No. Rosa was cutting peppers. Didn't look up. "Why not? You'd have to ask him." But Sarah didn't ask. Just stood at the window watching him work until Rosa handed her a basket. Tomatoes need picking. Gardens that way. As the garden was behind the house, protected from the wind by a low stone wall Caleb's father had built 40 years back. Sarah knelt in the dirt, picking the ripe ones, setting them gentle in the basket. The sun was warm on her shoulders. She was wearing the blue work shirt over one of Rosa's old t-shirts, sleeves rolled to her elbows. She didn't hear him ride up until the horse snorted. She froze, looked up. Caleb sat easy in the saddle, maybe 20 feet away, hat pulled low against the sun. His eyes went to the shirt, his shirt, then away, quick, like he was trying not to notice. He touched the brim of his hat, small gesture, kept riding toward the barn, didn't stop, didn't speak, just acknowledged. Sarah watched him go, heart pounding for reasons she couldn't name, and realized her hands had stopped shaking. That evening, she found herself standing in the kitchen with a glass of iced tea in her hands, condensation dripping between her fingers. Rosa had gone to her house for the night. Caleb was on the front porch in his usual spot, watching the sun go down. She stood in the doorway for a full minute, arguing with herself. Finally, she pushed the screen door open, set the glass on the porch rail within his reach. "Thought you might want this." He looked at the glass, then at her. "Thank you." She turned to go back inside. "You can sit if you want." The words stopped her. She looked at the porch. 2 chairs, a good 3 feet between them, an ocean of space. She sat, far chair, hands in her lap. They watched the sky turn orange, then pink, then purple. Neither of them said anything. A coyote called from somewhere out in the scrub. The desert wind moved through the mesquite trees with a sound like water. 5 minutes passed, maybe more. "Thank you," she said finally, "for not going to town." "Wasn't for you." His voice came out easy, like it didn't matter. "Hate those meetings anyway." "Liar." He almost smiled. "Yes, ma'am." She picked at a thread on her jeans. Rose's jeans, too big, held up with a belt cinched tight. "You could still go. Next week. I could hide better. Stay in the room the whole time." "Could." He took a drink of tea. "But I'm not going to." "Why not?" He was quiet for a long time. Long enough, she thought, he wouldn't answer. "Had someone asked me for help once," he said finally. "Told her I was too busy, that she should handle it herself." His jaw worked. 3 months later, I buried her. Sarah went still. "So, when you needed help, even though you didn't ask for it." He trailed off, stared at the horizon. "I guess I figured I was done being too busy." The words sat between them like something fragile. "I'm sorry," she said, "about whoever she was." "Me too." The sun dropped below the mesa line, and the first stars came out sharp and cold. "The man I'm running from," Sarah heard herself say. "He's a deputy, in Mesa Hollow." Caleb didn't react, didn't turn to look at her, just kept watching the dark come in. "If I testify against him, he'll kill me." Her voice came out flat, matter of fact. "And if anyone helps me testify, he'll come after them too." "He a good deputy?" "Everyone thinks so. Church deacon, coaches Little League." And she laughed, but it had no humor in it. "He's real good at making people believe him." "And you?" "Nobody believes me." Caleb finished his tea, set the glass down soft on the porch rail. "I believe you." Sarah's throat went tight. She stood up fast, turned toward the door. "Sarah." She stopped, didn't turn around. "You're safe here, long as you need to be." She wanted to say thank you. Wanted to explain that nobody had said that to her in 3 years. That she'd forgotten what safe felt like. Instead, she just nodded once and went inside. And if there were tears running down her face, at least it was dark enough he couldn't see them. A routine had settled in like dust. Sarah helped Rosa with morning tasks: cooking, cleaning, hanging laundry on the line out back. She worked the garden in the afternoons when the heat let up. She sat on the porch some evenings, always in the far chair, never speaking much but present. She still checked the lock at night, but only once now. She learned that Caleb took his coffee black, that he listened to the livestock report every morning on the kitchen radio, that he fixed things: fences, gates, the washing machine when it broke, the screen door hinge that squeaked, always working with his hands, like if he stayed still too long, something bad might catch up to him. She learned that Rosa had been with him for 20 years since his parents died, that she lived in the small adobe house behind the main building, the one with the blue door, that she spoke almost no English when people she didn't trust were around, but perfect English when it was just family. Family. The word felt strange, dangerous. The night conversations became a thing, not planned, just happening. They'd both be awake. Sarah from nightmares, Caleb from whatever kept him up, and they'd end up in the kitchen around 2 a.m., the house dark except for the light over the stove. He'd make coffee. She'd accept a cup. They'd sit at opposite ends of the table, and sometimes they'd talk, sometimes they wouldn't. Tuesday night, 3rd week, she asked him about the ranch. How long his family had owned it, what it was like growing up out here, with nothing but sky and cattle and silence. He told her about his father teaching him to ride when he was 4, about his mother who grew roses in the desert, impossible roses that shouldn't have lived but did because she was stubborn, about the winter of '83 when they lost half the herd to pneumonia, and his father sat at this same kitchen table and cried. She told him about her sister, Lila, 16, still in Mesa Hollow, still with their aunt. "She's the reason I stayed with him as long as I did," Sarah said, staring into her coffee. "He said if I left, he'd make sure Lila got taken by the state, put in foster care. He had the connections to do it. And now? Now I'm hoping he's forgotten about her, That she's safe because I'm gone. Caleb's jaw tightened. A man who'd threatened a kid to control a woman. He doesn't forget. Sarah knew he was right, felt it in her bones. That's why you can't ever go back to town, Caleb said. He sees you, sees me, he'll put it together. I know. So you stay here, long as it takes. And she looked at him across the table. This man who'd rearranged his whole life for a stranger, who asked for nothing, who sat with her at 2 a.m, drinking bad coffee, and pretending they both weren't broken in ways that didn't show. Why are you really doing this? She asked. He met her eyes. Because 15 years ago, I had the chance to do the right thing, and I chose my comfort instead, and my sister died because of it. So I'm your second chance. Maybe? He pushed his coffee away. Or maybe doing the right thing doesn't need a reason. B3. Bond grows, plus unease grows. Week 3. The heat broke a little. Fall coming in slow. The morning's almost cool. Sarah laughed for the first time on a Thursday. Rosa was telling a story about Caleb as a boy, how he'd tried to rope a javelina and ended up in the stock tank, soaking wet and covered in mud, screaming that the pig had tried to kill him. He was 8 years old, Rosa said, gesturing with her wooden spoon. And he comes running into the kitchen yelling, "Rosa, Rosa, the demon pig is after me." Sarah tried to hold it in, failed. A sound burst out of her, half laugh, half gasp, like she'd forgotten how. Caleb looked up from his paperwork at the kitchen table. Just looked at her. Something changed in his face. Then he went back to his forms like nothing had happened, but Sarah saw the corner of his mouth twitch. She put her hand over her mouth, trying to stop, but Rosa kept going, embellishing, and Sarah laughed again, quiet, rusty, real. From the porch later, Caleb stood listening to that sound carry through the screen door, and something in his chest that had been locked tight for 15 years cracked open just a little. But good things don't last. Friday morning, Sarah was helping Rosa hang laundry when she saw it. A sheriff's cruiser on the county road, half-mile out, maybe less, moving slow. The clothespin fell from her hand. Rosa. Her voice came out strangled. Rosa, look. Rosa turned, saw the car. Mierda. She grabbed Sarah's arm. Inside. Now. They ran. Sarah made it to the spare room, slammed the door, locked it. Stood, with her back against the wood, heart hammering so hard she thought her ribs might crack. The coffee cup on the nightstand. She'd left a coffee cup on the porch. Evidence. She pressed her forehead against the door and tried not to scream. An hour passed. The cruiser didn't turn down the ranch road, just drove past on the county line and disappeared. But Sarah couldn't move, couldn't breathe right. Sat in the corner of the room with her knees pulled to her chest, checking the lock over and over with shaking hands. 1 check, 2, 3, 4. Rosa knocked. Mija. He's gone. Was it him? I don't know. I couldn't see from here. But if he's looking, then we're ready. Rosa's voice came through solid, certain. Come out, please. You're safe. Sarah couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not for hours. She heard Rosa's footsteps retreat. Then Caleb's voice, low. Rose answering in Spanish, fast and worried. Then silence. Later, when Sarah finally unlocked the door and crept into the hallway, she saw it. The shotgun, by the front door, loaded, where it hadn't been that morning. Caleb was on the porch in his chair watching the road. The shotgun's twin leaned against the rail beside him. He didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge her, just sat there, a silent wall between her and whatever might come down that road. Sarah stood in the doorway for a long time, understanding. Then she went back to her room and checked the lock one more time. Just once. But she didn't sleep at all that night. The sheriff's cruiser came at noon on a Tuesday, dust plume visible from 5 miles off. And by the time it rolled to a stop in front of the house, Sarah was already gone, disappeared into the desert with nothing but the clothes on her back and Caleb's blue shirt tied around her waist. Caleb saw the dust first. He was replacing boards on the barn door when he caught the movement on the horizon, a vehicle coming fast down the county road, then slowing, then turning onto his drive. White cruiser. Mesa Hollow Sheriff's Department. His gut went cold. He walked to the house. Rosa was at the kitchen sink, saw his face through the window. Go check on Sarah, he said quiet. Now. Rosa dried her hands and moved fast. Caleb waited on the porch, arms crossed, as the cruiser rolled to a stop 20 feet from the house. The door opened and a man stepped out, mid-30s, fit, uniform pressed sharp, badge catching the sun. Handsome in a way that probably got him votes. Smile that didn't reach his eyes. Afternoon. The deputy touched his hat brim. Mr. Bridger? That's right. Deputy Frank Collier, Mesa Hollow Sheriff's Department. He walked closer, hand extended. Caleb didn't take it. What can I do for you, deputy? Frank's smile tightened a fraction. He dropped his hand. I'm looking for someone. Wondering if you might have seen her. He pulled a photo from his pocket, A woman in a diner uniform, younger, smiling at the camera. Sarah Coulter, 28 years old, endangered missing person. Last seen heading west toward county line about 3 weeks ago. Caleb looked at the photo, looked at Frank. Haven't seen her. You sure? She might be confused, disoriented. Might have shown up asking for help. I said I haven't seen her. Frank tucked the photo away, glanced past Caleb toward the house. Mind if I take a look around, just to be sure? I do mind. Mr. Bridger, I'm just trying to... You got a warrant? Frank's smile went colder. No, sir. Just a concerned public servant looking for a vulnerable woman who needs help. Then you can look from right where you're standing. They stared at each other. The desert wind pushed between them, hot and dry. Frank shifted tactics, voice going softer, reasonable. Mr. Bridger, I understand your hesitation. But Sarah, Miss Coulter, she's not well. She has episodes. Goes off her medication. Makes accusations against people trying to help her. That's so. Yes, sir. It's documented. Medical records. Court evaluations pending. Frank's eyes were steady, earnest. She's a danger to herself? Needs professional care? If she's contacted you, if she's told you stories about me or anyone else, she didn't tell me anything, Caleb said, because she's not here. Rosa appeared in the doorway behind him, holding a tray with 2 glasses of lemonade. She moved slow, deliberate, her English suddenly thick with accent. Senor, is everything okay? You want I should bring drinks? Frank's attention shifted to her. Ma'am, have you seen this woman? He showed her the photo. Rosa squinted at it, shook her head. No, senor. I clean house, cook for Senor Caleb. I see nobody else, just us here. You're sure? Si, very sure. You want lemonade? Is hot day. Frank studied her face, looking for cracks. Found none. No, thank you, ma'am. He turned back to Caleb. If she does show up, and I think we both know she might, you need to call me immediately, for her own safety. He pulled a business card from his pocket, held it out. My direct line. Caleb took it, didn't look at it. She's vulnerable, Mr. Bridger. Confused. Dangerous when she's off her meds. Last thing anyone wants is for her to hurt herself, or anyone trying to help her. The words landed soft, but carried weight. Threat dressed as concern. I'll keep that in mind. Frank nodded, took one more long look at the house, the barn, the land stretching empty to the horizon. Beautiful property you got here. Lot of space. Easy for someone to hide. Easy for someone to get lost too. Desert'll kill you in a day if you don't know what you're doing. That's what I'm worried about. Frank got back in the cruiser, started the engine. You have a good day now, Mr. Bridger? And if anything changes, you'll call me. It wasn't a question. He drove off slow, dust trailing behind him. Caleb watched until he was just a shimmer of heat on the road, heading north. Then Rosa was beside him. She's gone. The room's empty. Back door was open. How long? I don't know. Maybe she saw him coming. Maybe? Rosa's voice cracked. She's out there alone. Caleb was already moving. Which direction? West. Into the desert. Call the sheriff if he comes back. Tell him I'm checking fence lines. He grabbed his hat, his truck keys. Don't let him search the house. Vaya con Dios. He found her 3 miles out, walking into nothing. The land here was all scrub and stone, no shade, no water, 105 degrees in the full sun. She was a dark shape shimmering in the heat waves, moving away from him in a straight line like she had somewhere to go. He pulled alongside her, rolled down the window. Sarah. She didn't stop. Sarah, stop. And she kept walking. Caleb threw the truck in park, jumped out, jogged to catch up. Where are you going? Away. Her voice came out flat. Dead. Nearest town's 40 miles. You'll be dead by sunset. Better than what he'll do if he finds me at your place. Sarah. Go back, Caleb. She didn't look at him, just kept walking. I never should have stayed. Now he knows. He'll come back with more people, more questions. He'll destroy you to get to me. Let me worry about that. Why? She stopped finally, wheeled on him. Sweat running down her face, his shirt, tied around her waist, eyes wild. Why didn't you tell me he was a cop? A deputy? You knew what that meant and you let me stay anyway. Would you have stayed if I'd asked? She opened her mouth, closed it. I thought so. He took a step closer. She backed up. Sarah, running's not going to save you. He's got resources. Authority. He'll find you on some road, alone, and there won't be any witnesses. Then I'll die on my feet instead of hiding in your spare room like a coward. You're not a coward. Yes, I am. The words tore out of her. I stayed with him for 18 months while he beat me. I let him threaten my sister. I ran and left her there. And now I'm getting you killed too because I'm too broken to fix my own damn life. She yanked the blue shirt from around her waist, threw it at him. It hit his chest, fell to the dust. "Keep your charity. I don't need it. I don't need anyone." Something in him cracked. My sister said the same thing. Sarah went still. Amy, she was 23, came to me, bruised up, split lip, asked if she could stay at the ranch, said her husband was getting rough. His voice went hard, cold. I told her marriage was sacred, that she'd made vows. Told her to pray about it and work it out. And Caleb, 3 months later, her husband beat her to death in their kitchen. Neighbors heard her screaming. Took them 20 minutes to call the cops. By then, she'd bled out on the linoleum. The desert wind pushed against them. Neither moved. "So no," Caleb said. "I'm not helping you because I'm a good person. I'm helping you because I already let one woman die. Because I chose my principles over her life. And I can't," his voice broke, "I can't do that again." Sarah's eyes filled. "That's not your fault." "Yes, it is." "Then helping me won't fix it." Her voice came out raw. "You can't save her by saving me." And I know that." "Then why are you really doing this?" He picked up the shirt from the dust, held it, looked at her standing there in the heat, alone, convinced she was poison to everyone she touched. "Because you asked me not to touch you," he said quiet, "and every man before me didn't listen. So I figured the least I could do was listen now." She made a sound, half sob, half gasp. "So you can run if you want. I won't stop you. But if you stay knowing I'm not doing this to be noble. I'm doing it because I'm selfish. Because maybe if I save you, I can sleep through one night without seeing her face." The words sat between them like broken glass. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself, shaking, not from cold. "You really think he'll come back?" "I know he will." Then you're an idiot for keeping me here." "Probably." He held out the shirt. "But I'm an idiot, with 4 walls and a shotgun. That's better than 40 miles of desert." She looked at the shirt, at him, at the emptiness stretching in all directions. Finally she took it. Didn't put it on, just held it. "I'm sorry about your sister." "Me too." They stood there in the heat until she nodded once, turned, and walked back toward his truck. He followed, and neither of them spoke the whole drive home. She came back to the ranch that night because 40 miles of desert in the dark is a death sentence, not a choice. But she wouldn't speak to him, wouldn't take the shirt back when Rosa offered it, and slept on the floor by the door with her boots on, ready to run. The morning after, Sarah didn't come out of her room. Rosa left breakfast outside the door like she had those first days. The tray sat there for 2 hours before Sarah took it. When Rosa collected the dishes later, the food was barely touched. Caleb worked, kept his hands busy, fixed the irrigation pump that had been running rough, replaced fence posts on the north line, came in at lunch, and Rosa shook her head before he could ask. "She won't talk to me either." He nodded, went back out. The blue shirt sat folded on the kitchen counter where he'd left it, washed and dried. Rosa had ironed it without him asking, left it there like an accusation. That night, he sat on the porch alone. Sarah's curtains stayed drawn, no light inside. He wondered if she was even sleeping or just lying there in the dark, planning her next escape. Thursday morning, Frank came back. Different approach this time. Caleb was in the barn when he heard the vehicles, 2 of them, the cruiser and a white sedan. He walked out into the yard, wiping grease from his hands. Frank stepped out of the cruiser, same pressed uniform, same manufactured smile. From the sedan emerged 2 women in Sunday dresses, church ladies. He recognized them from town, Martha Hendricks and Louise Pratt, deacons' wives, pillars of the community. "Morning, Mr. Bridger." Frank gestured to the women. "I've brought some folks from First Baptist. They'd like to help." Martha stepped forward, clutching her purse. "Mr. Bridger, we're concerned. We understand you may be harboring someone who's troubled." Sarah Coulter. "We want you to know the church is ready to provide assistance." "I don't need assistance." But she does," Louise said, her voice dripping sympathy. "That poor girl is sick. She needs professional care, medical attention. We can help get her the treatment she needs." Nobody here needs treatment." Frank's smile tightened. "Mr. Bridger, we know she's here. Martha saw her through your kitchen window yesterday when she drove past." Caleb's jaw set. He'd been careless. They'd been careless. "Even if there was someone here," he said carefully, "they're not breaking any law." "No," Frank agreed. "But they are in danger. Sarah has a history of instability, self-harm. It's all documented. The court has ordered a psychological evaluation. If she refuses to comply, you can't force someone to. Actually, we can." Frank pulled papers from his pocket. "Court-mandated evaluation, filed 3 weeks ago. If she doesn't present for assessment within 30 days, a warrant will be issued for her immediate transport to the state facility." The words landed like stones. "You're lying." "It's public record." Frank held out the papers. Filed the day she disappeared. For her own protection, Caleb didn't take them. Behind him, he heard the screen door, Rosa, standing on the porch, silent witness. Martha took a step closer, her face arranged in practiced concern. Bridger, we're not here to make trouble. We're here because we care about that girl. If she's told you stories about Deputy Collier, about abuse or mistreatment, those are delusions. Symptoms of her condition. She showed up at my ranch half dead. That a symptom too? Yes, Frank said quietly. Self-neglect, refusing treatment, running from help. His eyes held something cold underneath the concern. It's part of the pattern. And now she's involving you, drawing you into her delusions. Get off my property. Mr. Bridger, now. Frank nodded slowly, gestured to the women. They got back in the sedan, but before Martha closed the door, she called out, "There's a town meeting tonight, 6 o'clock. Community Center. We'll be discussing this situation. We'd appreciate your attendance." Frank lingered, one hand on his cruiser door. "This isn't going away, Mr. Bridger. Sooner or later, she'll have to face reality. The only question is how many people get hurt when she does." He drove off. The church ladies followed. Caleb stood in the yard, fists clenched, as the dust settled. Rosa came down off the porch. She heard everything. She's packing. He found her in the spare room, shoving clothes into the plastic bag with shaking hands. "Don't." His voice came out rough. "Don't run. He's got a court order." She didn't look at him. "He's weaponized the system. There's no fighting that. There's always—" "No, there isn't." She wheeled on him, tears running down her face. "You heard them. The church believes him. The town believes him. He's got documentation, medical records, legal orders. What do I have? Scars nobody wants to see, and a story nobody believes." "I believe you." "That doesn't matter." Her voice broke. "One man believing me doesn't change the law. Doesn't change what he can do. He'll come back with that warrant and take me. And if you try to stop him, he'll arrest you too." Caleb stood in the doorway, useless, watching her fall apart and knowing she was right. "The town meeting," he said finally. "I'll go. I'll tell them—" "Tell them what? That you're hiding a mentally unstable woman on your property? That'll help." She laughed, bitter and broken. "No, I leave tonight, before he comes back, before you lose everything. I'm not letting you. It's not your choice." The words hung between them. Rosa appeared behind Caleb. "The meeting is in 3 hours. If you go, what will you say?" "The truth." And you think they'll believe you over him? Over their deputy, their deacon, their Little League coach?" Rosa shook her head. "They'll call you a fool. Say she's manipulated you." "Then what do we do?" Caleb's voice came out desperate. "Just let him take her?" "No." Rosa's eyes went hard. "We make them see." Sarah looked up. "See what?" "The truth. Not his truth, yours." Rosa stepped into the room. "At the meeting, you testify. Public record, in front of witnesses. They won't believe. Maybe not. But it's on record. Your voice, your story." Rosa's voice went gentle. "And we stand beside you, all 3 of us." "You'll lose everything," Sarah whispered. "Your jobs, your home, your—" "We already chose," Caleb said. "Now you choose." Sarah sat on the bed, bag in her lap, the weight of the decision crushing her. Outside, the sun dropped lower and the shadows grew long. The decision hung in the air like smoke. Sarah set the bag down slowly. "If I do this, if I go to that meeting, he'll destroy all of you." Let him try," Caleb said. "You don't understand what he's capable of? Then tell me." He stepped into the room, not close, just present. "Tell me everything. So when I stand up there, I know what I'm fighting." She looked at him for a long moment. Then something in her face shifted, went cold, defensive. "You want to know? Fine." Her voice went flat, hard. "He started hitting me 6 months in. Small stuff at first, shove here, grab there. Said I made him do it. That I was too mouthy, too stubborn, didn't know my place." Rosa made a small sound. Sarah ignored it. "By year 2, he'd broken my wrist twice, ribs once. Gave me a concussion I couldn't go to the hospital for because he said if I did, he'd make sure Lila disappeared into foster care in another county where I'd never find her." Caleb's fists clenched. "Last time I saw him, he held my face in the sink until I passed out. Woke up on the kitchen floor with him standing over me, crying, saying he loved me, and why did I make him hurt me?" Her eyes were dry, empty. "So I ran, middle of the night, walked 20 miles to the county line, hitchhiked to nowhere, ended up in your line shack because I was too stupid to die properly in the desert. And you know what I think?" Her voice turned sharp, cruel. "I think you want Frank to find me." What?" Because then you get to be the hero who tried, the good man who did everything he could. And when I'm locked up in some state hospital or dead in a ditch, you can tell yourself you did your best. She took a step toward him. Just like with your sister. The words hit like a fist. You get to feel good without actually fixing anything, without actually risking anything real. That's not, isn't it? Her eyes blazed. You skip some town meetings, you let me hide in your spare room, you make some speeches about truth and justice. But when it comes down to it, what have you actually sacrificed? What have you actually lost? His face went white. Sarah, stop, Rosa said quietly. But Sarah couldn't stop. The words were poison and they had to come out. Amy came to you, and you turned her away because it was easier, because helping her would have been hard. Would have cost you something. Her voice cracked. And I'm just the next version of her. Your second chance to feel righteous without actually doing anything that matters. Get out. Caleb's voice came out barely above a whisper. What? Get out. He turned and walked away, down the hall, out the back door. Sarah stood there shaking as the screen door slammed. Rosa looked at her for a long moment. You heard him. Good. Sarah's voice broke. Maybe he'll finally understand. Understand what? That I'm not worth saving. Rosa stepped closer. No, mija. You hurt him because you're terrified. Because people about to testify the truth are also about to lose everything they know. So, you hurt him first. To see if he'll leave. Sarah's legs gave out. She sat hard on the bed. But he won't leave, Rosa said softly. Even now, that's what scares you most. An hour later, Caleb's truck pulled out of the drive, heading east toward Mesa Hollow. Sarah watched from the window. Where's he going? To town. Rosa stood beside her. To the meeting. I told him not to. You told him a lot of things. He's not listening to those. Rosa touched her shoulder. He's listening to the part where you're terrified. The part that needs someone to fight, even when you're too tired to fight for yourself. He's going to lose everything. Maybe, or maybe he's going to save it. The town meeting started at 6. By 6:30, Caleb still wasn't back. Sarah paced the kitchen. Checked the window, paced again, 7 o'clock, nothing. Rosa sat at the table, rosary beads moving through her fingers, lips moving in silent Spanish prayer. 7:30. Headlights in the drive. Sarah's heart stopped, but it was Caleb's truck, not a cruiser. He came through the door, face set like stone, and walked straight to his office. She heard him on the phone, voice low, controlled, talking to someone. She crept down the hallway, stood outside the door. Yes, this is Caleb Bridger. I need to report something. No, I'm not calling about Sarah Coulter. I'm calling about Deputy Frank Collier. Mesa Hollow Sheriff's Department. Assault, harassment, abuse of power. Falsifying medical records to justify forced institutionalization. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. How do I know? Because she's here. Sarah Coulter. She'll testify. I'll testify. My housekeeper will testify. And yes, I understand what that means. Yes, I understand he's law enforcement, and this will require state investigation. I don't care. Send someone. Silence. Tomorrow? No, tonight would be better. I understand. Tomorrow morning, then. Yes, we'll all be here. Yes, she's safe. Thank you. He hung up. Sarah stood in the doorway. He saw her, but didn't speak. You called the state police, she whispered. I did. You just destroyed your life. Maybe. He stood, moved toward her. She didn't back away. But I'm done walking away when it matters. Caleb, they'll take his word over ours. He's a deputy. We're 3 people with the same story, and they'll have to investigate. Put it on record. That's more than your word against his. His voice went rough. It's not much, but it's something. It's everything. Her throat went tight. You'll lose the town's respect, your reputation. They'll call you a fool. I've been called worse. The ranch, if they side with him, if the community turns on you, then they turn on me. He looked at her steady. I already lost what mattered 15 years ago. This time I'm not choosing comfort over someone's life. She wanted to yell at him, to shake him, to make him understand how much this would cost. Instead, she just stood there, as tears ran down her face. And for the first time since she'd arrived, he reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and touched her shoulder. Just once, brief. She didn't flinch. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She found him in the barn, sitting on a hay bale, holding something in his hands. A photograph. Small, creased. A young woman with dark hair and his same gray eyes, smiling. Amy, he said without looking up. She was 23 in this one. taken maybe a month before she died. Sarah sat down beside him, not touching, just close. She loved horses, used to ride every morning before work. Said it was the only time she felt free. His thumb traced the edge of the photo. After she married him, she stopped riding. Said she didn't have time, but really she couldn't. He'd check the odometer on her car, track where she went. Caleb, she came to me on a Tuesday. I remember because it was trash day, and I was hauling bags to the curb when she pulled up. She had sunglasses on, even though it was cloudy, kept them on the whole time she talked. He paused. The barn was silent except for the horses shifting in their stalls. She said, Cal, I need to stay here for a while, just a few weeks, until I figure things out. And I said, what about your marriage? You can't just leave him. She took off the sunglasses then, had a black eye. Split lip. His voice cracked. And I looked at her face and I said, marriage is sacred. You made vows before God. Go home and pray about it. Sarah's hand found his. He let her hold it. 3 months later, I got a call from the sheriff. Said there'd been an incident, domestic disturbance. Neighbors heard screaming but waited too long to call. By the time they got there, he stopped, started again. She'd bled out on the kitchen floor, died holding a phone, trying to call 911. That's not your fault? Yes, it is. He looked at her finally. She asked me for help, and I gave her scripture. She needed a safe place, and I gave her judgment. So, when she died, that's on me. Not him, me. And you think saving me fixes that? No. His voice went quiet. But it's all I know how to do anymore. They sat there in the dark, and somewhere in the rafters, a barn owl called once, lonely and searching. You ask me why I'm really doing this, Caleb said. Truth is, I don't know if I'm helping you, or just trying to prove to myself I'm not the man who let his sister die. Maybe both, maybe neither. Sarah squeezed his hand. I'm sorry I said those things earlier, about you wanting me to fail. You weren't wrong. Part of me probably does want the easy way out. He set the photo down gentle on the hay bale. But a bigger part remembers what it felt like to stand at her grave knowing I could have stopped it. And I can't. His voice broke. I can't stand at yours too. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Just for a moment. You're not going to, she said. We're going to fight him. Together. Yeah. And we're probably going to lose. Yeah. But we're going to try anyway. Yeah. He looked down at her. That sounded like a plan. Worst plan I ever heard. Good. Then we're doing it right. Outside, the wind picked up, and the copper chimes Rosa had hung sang soft through the darkness. Not a warning this time, just a sound. Just proof that something could still ring clear in a world that tried to break everything beautiful. State police didn't come the next morning or the afternoon, and when Caleb called back, they said there was processing time required for allegations against law enforcement, which meant Frank had gotten to them first and they were on their own. Friday came and went. No state police. Saturday morning, Caleb called the number they'd given him. Got transferred 3 times. Finally, a sergeant came on the line, voice tired and bureaucratic. Mr. Bridger, allegations against sworn officers require review by Internal Affairs. Standard procedure. Could take 7 to 10 business days before an investigator is assigned. 7 to 10. She doesn't have that kind of time. I understand your concern, but there's a process. Meanwhile, if Miss Coulter feels she's in immediate danger, she should contact her local sheriff's department is the problem. Then she can file a restraining order against a deputy. You think a judge in his county will sign that? Silence on the line. Then, I'll make a note that it's urgent. That's the best I can do. Caleb hung up. He sat in his office staring at nothing while the truth settled like concrete. They were alone. No cavalry coming, no system to catch them. Just 3 people and whatever they could do themselves. Sunday, the town went to church. Caleb didn't. He'd gone every week for 40 years. His mama's rule. Kept going after she died, out of habit. But this morning he stayed on the porch with coffee gone cold and watched the sun climb. Rosa came out dressed in her good clothes, ready to walk the 1.5 miles to First Baptist like she always did. You should stay here, Caleb said. Why? They know you helped her. I know what they'll do. Rosa adjusted her hat. That's why I'm going. So they can see my face. So they know I'm not ashamed. She walked down the drive, back straight, and Caleb watched her disappear around the bend, knowing she'd come back with stories he didn't want to hear. Sarah stayed in her room all day, door closed, no sound from inside. Caleb worked, not because anything needed doing, but because his hands needed to move. He restacked firewood that was already stacked, swept the barn floor, oiled gate hinges that didn't squeak. Around 3, Rosa came back, face tight. How bad? Pastor dedicated the closing prayer to those who've been deceived by false witnesses. Rosa set her purse down hard. Martha Hendricks suggested a special collection to help confused young women find their way back to truth and healing. They mentioned Sarah by name. They didn't have to, everyone knows. She looked at him. They mentioned you, though. Pastor said he's concerned about members of our community who've been led astray by their own pride. So that's it then. Town's made up its mind. The town follows whoever speaks loudest. Right now, that's Frank. Rosa started toward the kitchen, stopped. But there were a few who stayed quiet, didn't join the prayer, didn't contribute to the collection. A few doesn't help us. Maybe not, but it's something. Evening came. Sarah finally emerged, not to eat, just to stand at the kitchen window staring out at nothing. Caleb made coffee, set a cup near her. She didn't acknowledge it. State police aren't coming, he said. I know. So we're on our own. I know that too. Her voice was flat, empty. You should tell me to leave. Make me go before this gets worse. Can't make you do anything. Oh, you could try. Tried that once with someone I loved. Didn't work. He leaned against the counter. Besides, where would you go? I don't know. Somewhere he can't find me. No such place. Not in this county. She turned finally. Her eyes were hollow. Then what are we doing, Caleb? What's the point of any of this? He didn't have a good answer. Just the truth. We're giving you time. Time for what? To stop running. To stand still long enough to remember you're not what he told you you were. Her throat worked. And what if he's right? What if I am just, you're not? His voice went hard, final. I don't know what you are, but you're not that. She looked at him for a long moment, then back out the window. My sister's birthday is next week, she said quietly. She'll be 17. I've missed 2 of her birthdays now. A tear ran down her face. I'm supposed to be there, baking her a cake, taking her to dinner at that diner she likes. Instead, I'm here, hiding, while he probably tells her I abandoned her. You didn't abandon her. You're protecting her, by staying away, by letting him tell her whatever lies he wants. By staying alive. Caleb moved closer. Not touching, just present. You can't protect her if you're dead, or locked in some facility where he controls the narrative. So I just wait? Hope the system works eventually? No, we fight. Different way, smarter. How? He didn't know yet, but he would figure it out. Had to. That night, Sarah stood alone on the back porch, staring at stars that looked close enough to touch. The desert stretched dark and infinite, and she felt microscopic, irrelevant, a speck of dust trying to fight a mountain. Behind her, through the screen door, she could hear Rosa and Caleb talking low in Spanish, arguing about something, plans maybe? Options she couldn't hear. She thought about Lila, about whether she remembered Sarah's face, or if Frank had already erased her from that 17-year-old memory, about whether fighting was even possible. When the enemy had all the power and you had nothing but scars and a borrowed room and 2 people stupid enough to stand with you. The wind came up cold. First hint of real fall. In the distance, a coyote called, lonely, searching, and something in Sarah's chest cracked open just a little. Not hope, not yet, but maybe the space where hope could grow if she could just survive long enough to plant it. She wrapped her arms around herself, still did that, probably always would, and whispered words into the dark that she didn't expect anyone to hear. I'm not ruined. I'm not. Said it over and over until, maybe for just a second, she almost believed it. Monday morning, Caleb made his decision. He found Sarah in the kitchen helping Rosa with dishes. Get dressed. We're going somewhere. Where? Town. Her face went white. Are you insane? Probably. But I'm done hiding. Done waiting for a system that won't help. He looked between them. He wants to paint you as crazy? Fine. Let him try while you're standing there in front of everyone, calm and clear and telling the truth. Caleb, he'll arrest me. Not in front of a crowd, not when there are witnesses. His eyes were hard, clear. We're going to the one place he can't hide behind his badge. We're going to church. Rosa crossed herself. Dios mío. Sarah stared at him. You want me to testify in front of the whole congregation? I want them to see you, hear you, see that you're not some delusional woman. You're a person, with a voice, with rights. He stepped closer. And I want him to have to look at you while you tell the truth. In the house of God, where he can't make you disappear. He'll find a way. Maybe, but not today. Not if we do this right. He looked at Rosa. You in? Rosa nodded once, firm. See? They both looked at Sarah. She stood there, dish towel in her hands, terror and something else warring in her face. Finally. When? Sunday, next service. We walk in together, all 3 of us. And we don't leave until everyone's heard the truth. Sarah's hands shook, but she nodded. Okay. Outside, the wind chimes sang, and this time it sounded like a war drum. Sunday morning, Frank showed up at First Baptist with Sarah's sister Lila, 16 years old, bruised wrist, terrified eyes, and told the congregation that if Sarah Coulter wanted to see her baby sister again, she'd turn herself in by noon. The call came at 8 a.m., Rosa's cousin in Mesa Hollow, voice shaking. Rosa, entiende. Frank Collier just drove past my house with a young girl in his cruiser. Dark hair, crying. He's taking her to the church. Rosa's face went gray. Lila. Sarah heard the name and ran to the phone. What about Lila? Rosa held up a hand, listening, nodding, then hung up. He has your sister. At First Baptist. He's using her. The floor dropped out from under Sarah. No, he wouldn't. She's just a kid. He's desperate. Caleb was already moving, grabbing his truck keys, which makes him dangerous. We have to go, now. Sarah was at the door. Wait, Rosa grabbed her arm. You go running in there panicked? You've already lost? He wants you emotional, out of control, proves his story. I don't care. That's my sister. I know, mija. That's why we do this right. Rosa looked at Caleb. We all go, together, calm. We're just church members coming to Sunday service. Caleb nodded. We don't react to him. We speak to the congregation. Sarah's breath came fast, shallow. What if he hurts her? He won't. Not in front of everyone. Caleb met her eyes. But he'll try to make you break. Try to make you look unstable. You have to stay calm. Oh, I can't. You can. His voice went gentle. Because you're stronger than he ever let you believe. They drove in silence. Sarah in the passenger seat, Rosa in back, Caleb at the wheel. His shotgun lay on the floor behind the seat, not to use, just to have. Insurance. What do I say? Sarah's voice came out small. The truth, Rosa said. Simple, clear, no anger, just facts. And when he calls me a liar, let him. Caleb's eyes stayed on the road. His words or yours? Let the congregation decide which sounds more true. Sarah looked down at her hands. They were shaking. She pressed them flat on her thighs. I haven't seen Lila in 6 months. What if she doesn't even want to see me? What if he's convinced her I'm... Then you remind her who you are. And Rosa leaned forward. You're her sister. That doesn't change because some man told lies. The town appeared on the horizon. Collection of buildings. White church steeple rising above them. Sarah's stomach turned over. I think I'm going to be sick. Breathe, Caleb said. In through your nose, out through your mouth. She tried, failed, tried again. They pulled into the church parking lot at 11:45. Cars everywhere. Looked like half the town had shown up. Word must have spread. Frank's cruiser sat right in front, deliberate, territorial. Ready? Caleb asked. Sarah wasn't. Would never be. Yeah. They got out. Walked across the parking lot together, Sarah in the middle, Rosa and Caleb flanking her. Protection. Witnesses. Family. The church door stood open. Inside, voices singing, old hymn, Amazing Grace. And beautiful and terrible, all at once. They stepped through the doors and every head turned. The sanctuary went silent. Hymn died mid-verse. Frank stood at the front near the pulpit, one hand resting on Lila's shoulder. The girl looked small beside him. Jeans, t-shirt, dark hair pulled back. Her wrist had a purple bruise wrapping around it like a bracelet. Her eyes found Sarah and went wide. Sarah? Sarah's heart broke. Hi, Lila. Frank's smile was all teeth. Well, looks like the whole family's here. He gestured to the congregation. 60, maybe 70 people packed into pews, all staring. Folks, this is Sarah Coulter, the woman I've been telling you about. But Pastor Williams stood near the altar, looking between Frank and Sarah with confusion and discomfort. Deputy Collier, what's going on here? I'm glad you asked, Pastor. Frank's voice carried, practiced, authoritative, reasonable. Miss Coulter has been avoiding court-mandated mental health treatment, refusing to take her medications, living off the grid, spreading false accusations about law enforcement. That's not true, Sarah said. Her sister Lila here came to me this morning, worried sick. Frank squeezed Lila's shoulder. The girl flinched. Said she hadn't heard from Sarah in months. Asked me to help find her. So when I heard she was in town, you dragged a 16-year-old girl to a church and used her as bait. Caleb's voice cut through, hard, clear. The congregation shifted, murmured. I did no such thing, Frank said. I brought her here so they could reunite, in a safe public place, with witnesses. His eyes locked on Sarah. But Sarah needs to understand. She has to come with me, has to get the help she needs before she hurts herself, or someone else. I'm not going with you. Sarah's voice shook but held. And you need to let my sister go. Sarah, honey, Frank's voice went soft, dangerous. You're not well. You've been telling people I hurt you, that I abused you. But everyone here knows that's not true. It is true. Then show them. What? Martha Hendricks stood up from a pew. If he hurt you, show us the scars. Sarah's breath caught. The congregation waited. Caleb stepped forward. She doesn't have to. It's okay. Sarah looked at him, then at the crowd. Slowly, she lifted the hem of her shirt, just enough to show her abdomen. The scars there, thin white lines. The bruises, faded yellow-green but still visible. Gasps rippled through the pews. Those could be from anything, Frank said quickly. Self-harm, accidents. There's no proof. I have proof. Rosa stepped forward, and her voice rang clear. No accent, no hesitation. Perfect English for the first time in public. I've lived in this town for 40 years. Invisible, because I had to be. But I've seen things, and I've seen what Deputy Collier did to this girl. More murmurs. Frank's jaw tightened. I've dressed her wounds, Rosa continued. I've heard her nightmares. I've watched her flinch when a man raises his voice. That's not mental illness. That's trauma. She looked at the congregation. And if you can't see the difference, then God help you all. The words landed like stones. Pastor Williams cleared his throat. Deputy Collier, perhaps we should. What we should do, Frank cut in, voice hardening, is stop listening to a woman who's been harboring a fugitive and an illegal immigrant who... I'm undocumented, Rosa said clearly. Not illegal. And I'm willing to testify to everything I've seen. Under oath. In front of God and any court you name. The sanctuary erupted. People talking over each other. Pastor Williams trying to restore order. And through it all, Lila was crying. Silent tears running down her face as she looked at her sister. Sarah, she said, please, I just want to go home. I know, baby. I know. Sarah's voice cracked. But he can't take you home. He's not safe. Sarah, don't confuse her, Frank started. Let her go. Sarah took a step forward. Whatever you want from me, you can have. But let Lila go. She's a child. I'm trying to help her. You grabbed her wrist hard enough to bruise it. Caleb's voice went cold. We can all see it from here. Frank's hand dropped from Lila's shoulder. He looked down, realizing the mistake. The visible evidence. She was resisting. She's 16. An older man stood up from a back pew. Rancher, weathered face. That's assault on a minor, Frank. Another voice. Let the girl go. Then another. This doesn't feel right. The tide was shifting. Frank felt it. Panic flickered across his face before he locked it down. Fine. He stepped back from Lila. Go to your sister. Lila ran, straight to Sarah, who caught her and held on like drowning. I'm sorry, Sarah whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry I left you. I knew you didn't want to, Lila sobbed. I knew he was lying. Frank stood alone at the front of the church, isolated, exposed. This is a mistake, he said to the congregation. You're letting her manipulate you. She's sick. Dangerous? No. Caleb walked forward, stood between Frank and Sarah. She's the bravest person in this room, because she came here knowing you'd try to destroy her, knowing everyone might side with you, and she told the truth anyway. He turned to face the congregation. 15 years ago, my sister came to me asking for help, said her husband was hitting her, and I told her to go home and pray about it. His voice carried, steady and clear. 3 months later, he beat her to death. And I've had to live with that ever since. The church was silent. So, when Sarah showed up half dead at my ranch, I had a choice. Turn away again. Choose comfort over conscience. Or do the right thing even if it costs me everything. He looked at the faces staring back. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man trying not to make the same mistake twice. He gestured to Rosa. And Rosa here, she's risking deportation to stand with us. 40 years of being invisible. And she chose today to be seen. Because some things matter more than safety. Sarah stood with Lila in her arms, tears running down both their faces. So believe what you want, Caleb said. Believe Frank's story if it's easier. But just know, if you choose his version, you're choosing to let power win over truth. You're choosing comfort over conscience. He paused, just like I did 15 years ago. Silence. Then an older woman stood. I believe her. Another voice. Me too. The rancher from the back. Frank, I think you need to leave. Frank looked around, seeing his control slip, his authority crumble. You're all making a terrible mistake. Maybe, Caleb said. But it's our mistake to make. Sirens outside, growing louder. Frank's face went white. What did you... State police, Caleb said. Called them yesterday. Told them to come today, noon, to this church. He stepped closer. You wanted a public reckoning, Frank. Here it is. 2 state troopers came through the doors. Frank looked at Sarah, at the congregation, at the life he'd built crumbling in real time. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, Sarah said quietly. It is. They arrested him there in the sanctuary, read him his rights in front of 70 witnesses, let him out in handcuffs while the congregation watched in stunned silence. Sarah held Lila and didn't watch him go. Didn't need to. It was over. After, in the parking lot, people came up to them, some apologizing, some angry, some just watching, trying to figure out what had happened. Pastor Williams approached, face heavy with shame. Miss Coulter, I'm sorry. We should have listened. Sarah nodded, didn't trust herself to speak. Caleb shook his hand. Thank you, Pastor. They got in the truck, all 4 of them now. Leela squeezed between Sarah and Rosa in the cab, drove away from Mesa Hollow with the sun climbing toward noon, light sharp and clear and merciless. Sarah rolled down the window, let the wind hit her face. You okay? Caleb asked. She looked at Lila, sleeping against her shoulder, exhausted from crying. At Rosa, rosary beads moving through her fingers. At Caleb, eyes on the road, jaw set. No, she said, but I will be. He nodded. Yeah, you will. The desert stretched ahead of them, red and gold and endless. And for the first time since she'd arrived, Sarah looked at it and didn't see a place to hide. She saw home. 3 weeks after the arrest, Sarah stood in the line shack doorway at dawn, the same threshold where Caleb found her, but this time her arms hung loose at her sides, and when his shadow fell across the frame, she didn't whisper, "Don't touch me." She just said his name. The blue work shirt sat folded on her bed, washed and pressed by Rosa's careful hands. Sarah held it for a long moment, feeling the soft weight of it, the smell of laundry soap and desert wind. She'd worn it like armor for 3 weeks, a borrowed skin, protection from a world that had taught her to fear touch. She didn't need it anymore. She folded it again, precise, the way Rosa had taught her, tucked a note inside. Just 2 words in her careful handwriting. Thank you. Set it on Caleb's porch rail where he'd find it. The sun was just breaking over the mesa when she walked out to the line shack. 2 miles across land she knew now. Every wash, every rise, every place the prickly pear grew thick. Lila was still asleep in the spare room, exhausted from packing. Rosa was in the kitchen making coffee for the road. They were leaving today. Tucson. Fresh start. Lila would finish high school there. Sarah would find work. Something clean and simple where nobody knew her story. But first she needed to see it. The place she'd hidden. The place she'd almost died. The door stood open like it had that first morning. She stepped into the frame. The exact spot where Caleb had found her with dirt under her nails and death in her eyes. She faced the sunrise, arms at her sides, palms open. The light came orange and gold across the desert, and it didn't hurt to look at anymore. Sarah? She turned. Caleb stood 20 feet back, hat in his hands, giving her space like he always did. Just wanted to see it one more time, she said. The place I hid. And? I'm not hiding anymore. He nodded, waited. She stepped out of the doorway, walked toward him. Why did you really help me, Caleb? The truth this time. He was quiet for a long moment. The sun climbed higher, a hawk circled lazy overhead. Because 15 years ago, I didn't, he said finally, and it cost my sister her life. So I was just a replacement? No. He met her eyes. You were a test. A test of what? Whether I'd choose right this time, whether I'd learned anything from losing her. Sarah felt something shift in her chest. And did you learn anything? Yeah. His voice went rough. That doing the right thing doesn't fix the past, but it might fix the future. For someone else, maybe that's enough. They walked back toward the ranch, slow, side by side, 2 feet of space between them. What will you do? She asked. Now that the whole town knows your business. Same thing I've always done. Work the land. Take care of the cattle. He glanced at her. Maybe go to church again, eventually, when they stop staring. They might never stop. Then I'll get used to it. She almost smiled. You're stubborn. Runs in the family? He paused. You'll call? Let us know you're settled? Every week. Rosa made me promise. Good. They reached the yard. The truck was loaded. 2 duffel bags, a box of Lila's things, Rosa's overnight case. Not much to show for 3 weeks of healing. But enough. Sarah stopped walking, turned to face him. I need to ask you something. All right. That first morning, when you found me, I told you I was ruined. Her voice stayed steady. Did you believe me? Caleb looked at her for a long time. The sun caught the gray in his eyes. No, he said quietly. You were never ruined, Sarah. You were only ever tested. The words landed soft. Final, true. Silence stretched between them. 10 seconds, 15, the desert wind the only sound. Sarah felt something in her chest crack open. Not break, open. Like a door she'd been holding shut for 3 years, finally swinging wide. "Thank you," she whispered. "You already said that." "I know, but I mean it more now." She reached out, took his hand, held it for 3 slow breaths, feeling the calluses, the warmth, the steadiness of it, then released. "If you're ever in Tucson, I'll know where to find you." Lila came out first, sleepy-eyed, carrying her backpack. Rosa followed with the last bag. "Lista, Mia?" Rosa asked. "Yeah." Sarah looked back at the house, the barn, the land stretching away in all directions. "Yeah, I'm ready." She hugged Caleb, brief, voluntary, her arms around him, his around her, and she didn't flinch. Didn't freeze. Just held on for a moment and then let go. "Take care of yourself, Caleb Bridger." "You too, Sarah Coulter." They got in the truck, Sarah driving, Lila in the middle, Rosa riding shotgun. The engine turned over, and Sarah put it in gear. As they pulled away, she looked in the rearview mirror. Caleb stood in the yard, one hand raised. She raised hers back. Then the ranch disappeared behind the rise, and there was only road ahead. "You okay?" Lila asked. Sarah thought about it, really thought. "No," she said, "but I will be." Lila leaned her head on Sarah's shoulder. Rosa smiled out the window at the passing desert, and Sarah drove toward Tucson with the sun climbing higher, the wind in her face, and something in her chest that felt almost like peace. Caleb stood in the yard until the dust settled. Then he walked back to the house. The blue shirt was on the porch rail, note tucked in the pocket. He unfolded the paper, read the 2 words, folded it again, and put it in his wallet next to Amy's photograph. He pulled the shirt on over his t-shirt. It smelled like Sarah, desert sage, and Rose's soap, and something else he couldn't name. Hope, maybe. Inside, the house was quiet. The spare room door stood open, bed made. Window curtains pulled back to let the light in. He made coffee, sat on the porch, watched the road where her truck had disappeared. The wind picked up. The copper chimes Rosa had hung sang soft and clear, one note, then another, then silence. And for the first time in 15 years, he didn't hear his sister's voice in the sound. Just wind. Just bells. Just proof that something could break and still make music. He sat there until the coffee went cold, the sun climbed to noon, and the desert heat shimmered like forgiveness over everything it touched.